Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Inspirational Sundays. This is episode 13, I believe, of season 3. I feel good saying that there's been 3 seasons. I know it's been on and off over the years, but we're here doing it consistently every Sunday, morning, noon, or afternoon, or evening. It doesn't really matter, but we're doing it every single Sunday. We're not going to stop. Genesis chapter 29, titled Jacob Arrives at Laban's Home. Verse 1. As Jacob continued on his way to the east, he looked out in a field and saw a well where shepherds took their sheep for water. 3 flocks of sheep were lying around the field. 3 flocks of sheep were lying around the well, which was covered with a large rock. Shepherds would roll the rock away when all their sheep have gathered there. Then after the sheep had been watered, the shepherds would roll the rock over the mouth of the well. Jacob asked the shepherds, "Where are you from?" "We're from Haran," they answered. Then he asked, "Do you know Nahor's grandson Laban?" "Yes, we do," they replied. "How is he?" Jacob asked. "He's fine," they answered. "And here comes his daughter Rachel with the sheep." Jacob told them, "Look, the sun is still high up in the sky, and it's too early to bring in the rest of the flock. Water your sheep and take them back to the pasture." But they replied, "We can't do that until they all get here, and the rock has been rolled away from the well." While Jacob was still talking with the men, his cousin Rachel came up with her father's sheep. When Jacob saw her and his uncle's sheep, he rolled the rock away and watered the sheep. He then kissed Rachel and started crying because he was so happy. He told her that he was the son of her aunt Rebecca, and she ran and told her father about him. As soon as Laban heard the news, he ran out to meet Jacob. He hugged and kissed him and brought him to his home, where Jacob told him everything that had happened. Laban said, "You are my nephew, and you are like one of my own family." Jacob marries Leah and Rachel. After Jacob had been there for a month, Laban said to him, "You shouldn't have to work without pay. Just because you are a relative of mine, what do you want me to give you?" Laban had 2 daughters. Leah was older than Rachel, but her eyes didn't sparkle, while Rachel was beautiful and had a good figure. Since Jacob was in love with Rachel, he answered, "If you will let me marry Rachel, I'll work 7 years for you." Verse 19, Laban replied, "It's better for me to let you marry Rachel than for someone else to have her. So stay and work for me." Jacob worked 7 years for Laban, but the time seemed like only a few days because he loved Rachel so much. Jacob said to Laban, "The time is up, and I want to marry Rachel now." So Laban gave a big feast and invited all their neighbors. But that evening, he brought Leah to Jacob, who married her and spent the night with her. Laban also gave Zilpah to Leah. Laban also gave Zilpah to Leah as her servant woman. The next morning, Jacob found out that he had married Leah, and he asked Laban, "Why did you do this to me? Didn't I work to get Rachel? Why did you trick me?" Laban replied, "In our country, the older daughter must get married first. After you spend this week with Leah, you may also marry Rachel, but you will have to work for me another 7 years." At the end of the week of celebration, Laban let Jacob marry Rachel, and he gave her his servant woman Bilhah. Jacob loved Rachel more than he did Leah, but he had to work another 7 years for Laban. The Lord knew that Jacob loved Rachel more than he did Leah, and so he gave children to Leah, but not to Rachel. Leah gave birth to a son and named him Reuben. That could be Reuben. Reuben. That's how it sounds. That's what it looks like. Reuben. But it sounds like it could be Reuben. It's Reuben. Okay. All right. I guess I don't know how to spell Reuben. Well, this is one way. Okay. Then she said, "The Lord has taken away my sorrow. Now my husband will love me more than he does Rachel." She had a second son and named him Simeon. See, I know that one. I was going to say Simeon in my head, but I'm like, wait a minute. That's definitely not right. Simeon. Because she said, "The Lord has heard that my husband doesn't love me." When Leah's third son was born, she said, "Now my husband will hold me close." So this son was named Levi. That's funny. Levi, hold me close. And I think about Levi's jeans, the close. You never know. The mind and the thoughts. Verse 35, she had one more son. Wow, okay. And named him Judah because she said, "I'll praise the Lord." Okay. Genesis chapter 30.
Wait, before you go into that. It's such a bittersweet story. Because, Jacob loved Rachel so much and he worked and it was nothing to him.
Right.
And that's the power of love. Like,
The time just flew.
Flies,
It said it flew.
right? But it's bitter in the way that
He was tricked.
not even just tricked. The fact that Leah had to endure that she's married to her husband. She married
But she knows he doesn't love her.
And he doesn't love her.
Yeah.
And she has all these children and she's saying, maybe now he'll love me. Because Rachel can't have any children. And maybe now he'll love me. Maybe now he'll look at me. Maybe now he'll look at me.
But now I was gonna say something on that too, because of the last one now she stopped worrying about him.
No, because now she's gonna worship him.
She just stopped worrying about him. It's not now he will hold me close. He's like, you know what? Now I'll praise the Lord. Not forget him, but let me focus on what's really important. All right? That's true. I was gonna say something, but I was like, okay, I'll just leave that one.
No, but it's so important to touch on that subject because we always, when we think about the story or when we read it, we always look at the fact of what you just said. Oh, Jacob was tricked by Laban. But what about how
what she was going through? She's a person. She was definitely going through something.
You know that your husband's eyes are well, you already knew that before he was
she knew, because she went in as part of the trick.
But that's your husband, so you want your husband to love you, and then he doesn't.
Yeah.
His eyes are only on his,
one of his other wives. That's also the problem with multiple wives as well.
You can't, because you could only love one.
You can't love more than one. Okay, Genesis chapter 30. Problems between Rachel and Leah. We saw this coming. All right. Verse 1. Rachel was very jealous of Leah for having children, and she said to Jacob, "I'll die if you don't give me some children." But Jacob became upset with Rachel and answered, "Don't blame me. I'm not God." Verse 3. "Here, take my servant Bilhah," Rachel told him. "Have children with her, and I'll let them be born on my knees to show that they are mine." Then Rachel let Jacob marry Bilhah, and they had a son. Rachel named him Dan, because she said, "God has answered my prayers. He judged in my favor and has given me a son." When Bilhah, I don't know why this name keeps tripping me up. When Bilhah and Jacob had a second son, Rachel said, "I've struggled hard with my sister and I've won." So she named the boy Naphtali. Okay. When Leah realized she could not have any more children, she let Jacob marry her servant, Zilpah. Wow, I feel like at the end of the day, Jacob's the one that's really gonna suffer. And they had a son. "I'm really lucky," Leah said, and she named the boy Gad. When they had another son, Leah exclaimed, "I'm happy now, and all the women will say how happy I am." So she named him Asher. Verse 14. During the time of the wheat harvest, Reuben found some love flowers and took them to his mother Leah. Rachel asked Leah for some of them, but Leah said, "It's bad enough that you stole my husband. Now you want to marry my son. Now you want my son's love flowers too." "All right," Rachel answered, "let me have the flowers, and you can sleep with Jacob tonight." That evening, when Jacob came in from the fields, Leah told him, "You're sleeping with me tonight. I hired you." "Huh? I hired you with my son's love flowers." "What?" "Okay, all right. I hired you with my son's love flowers." They slept that night, and God answered Leah's prayers by giving her a fifth son. Nowadays, people don't even want one child. Good Lord. Leah shouted, "God has rewarded me for letting Jacob marry my servant," and she named the boy Issachar. When Leah had another son, I like how you're in the saying to confirm that I'm getting the name pronunciations right. I like that. I like that. Yeah. Verse 19. When Leah had another son, she exclaimed, "God has given me a wonderful gift, and my husband will praise me for giving him 6 sons." So she named the boy Zebulun. Verse 21. Later, Leah had a daughter and named her Dinah. Finally, God remembered Rachel. He answered her prayer by giving her a son. "God has taken away my disgrace," she said. "I'll name the boy Joseph, and I'll pray that the Lord will give me another son." Verse 25. Again, we're reading from Genesis 30. We're at verse 25 currently. After Joseph was born, Jacob said to Laban, "Release me from our agreement and let me return to my own country. You know how hard I've worked for you, so let me take my wives and children and leave." But Laban told him, "If you really are my friend, stay on, and I'll pay whatever you ask. I'm sure the Lord has blessed me because of you." And Jacob answered, "You've seen how hard I've worked for you, and you know how your flocks and herds have grown under my care. You didn't have much before I came, but the Lord has blessed everything I have ever done for you. Now it's time for me to start looking out for my own family." "How much do you want me to pay you?" Laban asked. Then Jacob told him, "I don't want you to pay me anything. Just do one thing, and I'll take care of your sheep and goats. Let me go through your flocks and herds and take the sheep and goats that are either spotted or speckled, and the black lambs. That's all you need to give me. In the future, you can easily find out if I've been honest. Just look and see if my animals are either spotted or speckled, or if the lambs are black. If they aren't, they've been stolen from you." "I agree to that," was Laban's response. Before the end of the day, Laban had separated his spotted and speckled animals and the black lambs from the others and had put his sons in charge of them. Then Laban made Jacob keep the rest of the sheep and goats at a distance of 3 days' journey. Jacob cut branches from some poplar trees and from some almond and evergreen trees. He peeled off part of the bark and made the branches look spotted and speckled. Then he put the branches where the sheep and goats would see them. While they were drinking from the water trough, the goats mated there in front of the branches, and their young were spotted and speckled. Some of the sheep that Jacob was keeping for Laban was already spotted, and when the others were ready to mate, he made sure that they faced in the direction of the spotted and blacked ones. In this way, Jacob built up a flock of sheep for himself and did not put them with the other sheep. When the stronger sheep were mating near the drinking place, Jacob made sure that the spotted branches were there, but he would not put out the branches when the weaker animals were mating. So Jacob got all of the healthy animals, and Laban got what was left. Jacob soon became rich and successful. He owned many sheep, goats, camels, and donkeys, as well as a lot of slaves. Wow. So you see, you try to trick, then you get tricked. You know what I'm saying? And you get tricked in a I want to say in an okay way. Yeah. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up. As always, I'm your humble host, Picaso. Thanks for joining in. I hope you enjoyed. If you did enjoy today's video, leave a like, comment, subscribe, share the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay blessed. Peace. I'm out.